the whispers of truth, to live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Good morning and welcome to Growing Edge Live. I'm Reverend Dr. Allie Benjamin, just graduated from Emerson Theological Institute at the Unity Village-based Anton, A-N-T-N, annual retreat, and I am super excited and just feeling so much love and support from not only New Thought Media Network community, but the Anton and New Thought in general. So stay tuned to see how this all unfolds. So welcome to Growing Edge Life. This show is all about conversations with soul-centered individuals that are channeling their time, their talent, their energy, their wisdom, their resources, and their love into doing good works in the world. So every Monday, we get together here at 9 a.m. Pacific time to have a deep dive. And we're going to meet an amazing woman named Holly Hill today. More about her in a little while. But for now, I want you just to arrive in this moment. Take your attention from the past, what happened earlier today, yesterday, whenever. Take your attention from the future, what's yet to come, and bring your awareness into this moment. Just be here now as you ready yourself to receive some soul food, some spiritual food, some principles and practices that seem to work their way through the conversations that we have. And so I trust and know that what we share here today supports you right where you are, because this show, Growing Edge Live, is all about practical spirituality, how to take spiritual principles and ancient wisdom teachings and apply them to our everyday lives so that we can feel more fulfilled, more on fire with our purpose and our passion, and more in tune with our creative energy. And so that's what we're all about. And that's what I want to talk about in my first segment, which is called Ask Allie. Now, last week, my husband and I came live from Unity Village, and I skipped over the Ask Allie question. And I have a question that was submitted live on our show a couple of weeks ago by someone named Jarrett. And Jarrett said, and I don't have this exactly, but I was typing the best I could while I was reading the question in the live feed. By the way, if you would like to talk to us and add a comment or a question, and you're on one of the social media platforms, you can do that in the chat. So we welcome those questions. So Jarrett asked, when one feels rejected and depressed, is it something that I created in my mind by moving away from the positive energy around me? So when one feels rejected and depressed, is it something that I created in my mind by moving away from the positive energy around me? So, good question. It's an interesting question because there's a lot of paths we could go down in addressing this. Firstly, Jarrett, when you're experiencing depression, and I'm talking about depression, not sadness, but depression, it's always good to get professional help. And while we can get a lot of support by shows like this and our friends and ministers and practitioners that are trained to support people on their spiritual path, when you're dealing with depression, clinical depression, it's very important that you seek and get the help that you really need. And so my answer or my thoughts about your question, don't take the place of you getting the support and the help that you actually or you may need. Or maybe you're asking this for somebody else. So I'd pass that along to them. So when we're feeling rejected or sad or discontent, and we know that in the past we were feeling more positive, more on top of things, more alive and vibrant, that's just a good thing to recognize. Oh, I'm feeling a little sad, rejected, etc. But in the past, I have felt different than this. And I like to use the symbol of a circle with a line across the center, like the horizon. And I think of this as a teaching symbol. And so below the line, I would call that the more negative side of life. Above the line is the more positive side of life. So ideally, we would be above the line. Above the line is where we feel alive, connected. We might feel happy. We might feel support. We might feel positive and have positive thoughts. And so above the line, we're in our more evolved or more awakened state. We're tuned into our potential, our human potential. When we're below the line, we're in that place of questioning. Maybe we're not feeling so supported. Maybe we're feeling sad, rejected, maybe depressed. And it's just good to notice. So maybe every morning you do a little check-in with yourself when you take some time. And this is something that I suggest to all of my students. Take some time every day. Morning is a really good time to just sit and be with yourself and feel the presence and tune in and ask yourself, how am I feeling today? And it's good to acknowledge when we're feeling down, when we're feeling sad, when we're feeling rejected. But it's not the entirety of who we are. That's just a quality of being. And it's a temporary experience that we're having based on what we're thinking and what we're experiencing. And what we're thinking and what we're experiencing are in a constant state of flux and change. And so we can't really depend we can't overly identify with any of that because it's so transitory. It comes and goes. And so it's a layer of our experience that's worth engaging in, but not necessarily identifying as. So you're not rejected, you're feeling rejected, but you're not. That's not who you are. It's just your perception based on what you're thinking and what you're experiencing. And so during our meditation time, and it doesn't have to be in the morning, it could be in the evening, it can be any time. You can take a few minutes just to sit or walk or be with yourself and spend some time in mindfulness, just feeling. Mindfulness is a wonderful practice where we're fully engaged with ourself, being a human, and experiencing everything as it is. The weather, the sensations we're feeling, the emotions we're having, all of that is focused on or considered during a mindfulness practice. But there's always the emphasis that we're more than that. And there's a wonderful book by the author Michael Singer called The Untethered Soul. And within that teaching, he talks about being the witnessing presence. So this is what we develop as we explore, do some self-development work, as we enter into our spiritual practices of meditation and mindfulness and prayer and reading and studying. We begin to see that we are more than our thoughts. We're more than our body. There's another aspect or dimension of our being, which is our spirit and our soul. And as we get more and more familiar with that dimension of our being, we realize that that witness, that inner witness, that soulful self, that soulful presence has never been rejected, has never been depressed, has never been hurt. That's something that comes along with the human experience. That's something that comes along as our ego mind develops and begins to take things personally and develop a persona and start to protect you, the physical body, the mind, from all of the things in the world that can be scary or upsetting or sad. And so when you ask the question, when one feels rejected and depressed, is it something that I created in my mind by moving away from the positive energy around me? It's kind of a both and. We're always creating our experience. And we always, I encourage everyone that I sit with in classes to take full responsibility for their own spiritual development, for their own growth. And so knowing this symbol with the line across and below the line and above the line, maybe that can be sort of a little gauge or a map. And ideally we'd be above the line. Why? Because we do live in an attraction-based universe. So what we're thinking about and what we're feeling and what we're doing attracts like. And so when we're in a positive place, we're more equipped to handle the bumps in the road. When we're in a sad and depressed place, we're less equipped to handle those things, because those ups and downs, the sweets and the sours, as my friend Holly likes to call it, those things occur. But when we can develop a spiritual practice, when we can ground ourselves in our presence, when we can bring ourselves above the line and focus more fully on who we are as a spiritual being, who we are as a conscious co-creator of our experience, we work with the laws. And so being a vibrational match to feeling supported rather than feeling rejected, feeling happy versus feeling sad, being a vibrational match to that, one naturally sees and feels and experiences more of that because of the law of attraction. And so, as often as possible, when we dip down below the line, if we can take some time out to be with ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to bring ourselves into a more positive frame of mind, maybe there's a book, maybe there's some music. I know music is a wonderful way to lift our energy and vibration. And you'll find as time goes by and you put these things into practice, that you'll be better equipped to handle those momentary feelings when we take things personally, when we project onto others how they should make us feel or what they should do to support us, and we take responsibility for that ourselves. So I hope that's answered your question, Jared, and peace and blessings to you on your journey. So thanks a lot. Okay, now we're switching gears, and I'm super excited to share my friend Holly with you. Holly's someone I've known for several years. Her and her family came to our spiritual center, the Sati Center. And I want to read a little bit from Holly's bio because it says a lot more than I could say off the top of my head. Holly is a seasoned registered nurse specializing in lactation. She was inspired to become a lactation consultant because of the struggles she had with feeding her own children. And she reached her goal of becoming an international board-certified lactation consultant. With her passion for teaching and building up others, she created the business Light Up Lactation, where she empowers families with knowledge and provides the support they need for successful breastfeeding journeys. Holly works with the team at Breezy Babies, broadening her impact in maternal and infant care through in-home and telehealth visits. There's more to Holly, but we'll get to that in our interview. Thank you so much for being here today, Holly.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. But also to kind of volley some light back to you, congratulations on achieving your doctorate status. That's so
Well,
fantastic. And I love hearing Dr. Reverend Allie. That's so
well,
great.
thank you. It's been a long journey, and the work I've been on and the dissertation that I've been writing and creating, downloading has taken years. And finally, my close colleagues and friends say finally, because I've been saying this every year, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. So,
Absolutely.
I'm thinking people might be tuning in and thinking, good grief, breastfeeding, I'm a grandmother, I'm a grandfather, never even thought of that. But,
Yeah.
we have the opportunity here at Growing Edge Life to dive into the lives of people that are doing good works on this planet. And for many, and I know we'll get into this in the second segment of our show, but for many, new mothers, when they're,
Mhm.
sent home with a brand new baby, it's just overwhelming. And so
Mhm.
to shed some light on that with others that may not have even considered it, I think just is really a beautiful thing. So we'll get to that in
Yeah.
just a bit. So now tell us about Holly. Who's Holly? How did you get to be where you are today? What's super important? What's top of your list? What's your soul's purpose? And how did it all, evolve into where you are today?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Really big questions, really big answers. And is it okay if I go back and kind of jump on what you were talking about of answering the questions about
Oh,
depression?
sure. Yeah, love that.
Okay, and just because I saw a comment come through that says, "What's the difference between sadness and depression?" So I've dealt with depression personally. I work with so many new families. And so I often piece apart that difference between sadness and the depression. And so my my big answer is you are not your depressive thoughts. So, or maybe that is my small answer. And then my bigger answer would be look back over time because it's hard to evaluate every moment of every day. So look back over a chunk of time, like an entire day or an entire week. And if those intrusive thoughts are happening more than 50% of the time, that that's my marker. That's when you go get help. So that's when you admit it to yourself. That's when you talk to your partner, you talk to your family, you go talk with your provider and get some help there. So, and it's also thinking about how long has that been lasting for you. So that piece goes into it as well.
That's really
Um,
good. I'm so glad that you jump back onto that, because a lot of us don't know, especially us that haven't experienced depression or have family members that have. It's hard to tell. So
yeah,
now we know.
no, absolutely, absolutely. And so that does kind of dovetail right into who I am because who I am is not my depression, or not even claiming it. Who I am is not depression. But who I am has always been a helper, uh, thoughts of service. So even going back forever and ever, when I was young, I was going to be a veterinarian. I was going to take care of animals, and it just that love and that caring has always been there. And then I got to high school and thought, okay, maybe I want to be a doctor. This sounds like the right path to go. And then I got into college. Um, and I didn't start college on a really medical path. I started college in music. So you never really know where life is going to take you. I ended up going to nursing school, and it was there that I started out thinking, I really have this passion for women's healthcare. Because as a freshman in college taking an anatomy class, I got to be the classmate who was then teaching my fellow classmates on what hormones were, what this anatomy is all about, and that's also where I found this passion for teaching. So it's gosh, it's so layered. That's just exactly what it is. So fast forward through nursing school, and then I graduated with my degree. My husband got his degrees, and so we're like, we're adulting now. So we bought a house and started our careers and had a first child. And then deep postpartum depression hit.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of stage 1 of, oh, this is a new part of myself. How do I deal with this? Who am I in this? And then climbing out of that is what saw us move from Oregon to Utah. This is where my family is, and then it's closer to my husband's family in Idaho. And so we got that support there. So more time went by, and we had our second kiddo. And she's delightful, she's amazing, but that pregnancy with her was harder. Um, the postpartum depression was deeper. And then right after that, I started into a migraine journey.
Mhm.
So looking back, I could say I was so trapped in my head. But it was through that time that I started to think, who am I? Like, really, who am I? Am I a nurse? Well, that's a part of me. Am I a partner? That's a part of me too. Am I just a mother? Well, yeah, that's a part of me, but it was really identifying what my soul is, separate from these roles that I have and separate from this body that I'm in. So it was through that time that then led to some searching and thinking there must be lots of other people out there who think this way too and who aren't satisfied with face value of what's going on in life. And that's what led my family to Satya. Actually, my husband Ben found it first. And I remember it was the year that I certified as a lactation consultant. Oh, which that was part of my who am I journey. And who am I wasn't just a bedside nurse. It was this passion to like really learn more and dive into why did I have so many breastfeeding struggles and what could I have done differently? And then I attended a 3-day lactation conference that just lit this fire in my heart. And that's when I thought, this is it. This is my path right now. This is my purpose right now. This is my career path of what I want to do. And so I that was in 2015. I had already been a nurse for 10 years, and I thought, what more could I learn about lactation? And I was blown away, and that was part of the fire in my heart of, okay, I attended 3 8-hour days, and I still wanted to learn more. So that's, following that feeling, that light. Um, so then I met you at that same year that I certified, so that was 2017, and I remember it was right around Thanksgiving time,
Oh.
and, just, like, all of these things to feel so grateful, and I loved, um if it's okay if I share this, Allie,
Yes. Well, let me
I
just say that for those of you that don't know what Satya is our
oh,
spiritual center here at the top of Utah. And so, yeah, go ahead. Tell us.
yeah, so, um, Allie is known for her acronyms, and, oh my gosh, that I can't even tell you how many notes I have on my phone of just different acronyms that I would hear during your Sunday talks and like, "Oh, gotta remember that one. Ooh, gotta remember this one."
Yeah.
So, it
Yeah,
was
and I'm
so
still
lovely.
up to it. I'm still doing them. I on my Sunday talks,
Yes, I know.
it's hard not to make an acronym about every word that I'm. No, it's a bit of a habit.
It's one that I love. I do.
Yeah.
Because it's so helpful.
Yeah, it
Um,
was such a sweet time. Yeah, Thanksgiving is a wonderful time. but just remembering when you and your husband Ben and your little ones came in, and they were little then,
They were
now,
little.
woo,
I know.
just so sweet. And you guys, you just have such a great energy. And your husband's an educator,
Mhm.
and you're both musicians, and you
Right.
came in, and we would have you as special music guests. And oh my gosh, the energy you bring to a community live performance is just beautiful. And I can only
Mhm.
imagine that on steroids with all of your lactation support for a
Yeah.
new mother, how it must feel to have you swoop in and support families. Yeah. So, so yeah, tell us a little bit about, what you learned at Satya that has influenced, how you go about, you know, raising your family and dealing with your, you start talking about your migraines. Does that
Mhm.
tie in somehow?
It totally does. So, one of the things that I learned at Satya was about positive affirmations and how your thoughts make your reality. And so, one of those that I came to is seeing things differently. And so that's what I was meaning of not identifying with pain, not identifying with those below the line thoughts, but consciously choosing to see things differently. So it was through the time of Satya and learning about law of attraction as well. So that's the piece that I take with me and keep in my heart all the time. And as a side note, we mentioned earlier that we were both wearing green today. And so this was also the time where I was learning about chakras. And green is the heart chakra color.
Yes, yes.
So I think that that was subconscious that needed to happen today. So,
Exactly. Especially because we're talking about lactation, and it's got a lot to do with that region of the heart chakra. So,
oh my gosh.
Spirit
Yeah.
is just like organizing our wardrobe for us today. Something's
Yep.
going on. What is going on? Yeah.
Something that needed to happen. And so that this is where I take that piece with me, with my family, that when I start to feel some heaviness in my heart, this is when I start to step outside of that and I think, what else is going on around me? And
Mm,
am I taking on somebody else's feeling or is this my own feeling? And so I use that intuition and um often it is with my kids where I can sit with them and say, I feel something in my heart. Can you tell me what's going on? What
mm,
happened at school today? What's going on with your friend group? Or when they, my little one especially, she gets to in these negative thought spirals. Sometimes we call it like the negative cul-de-sac or like swirling the toilet bowl even. So, just, it's gross, but it's you a place that you don't wanna stay in. And so it's usually in those times where then she's like, "Well, this happened at school," or "This happened with my friend." And so we're able to then shine some light on what's going on, that it's not who she is, but it's an experience that she had.
mm.
So I use that all the time. And then
Perfect.
to take these thoughts, I going back, I know I'm talking in circles. I tend to do that. But going back to the migraine journey where I was on, as a nurse, I talked pain scale all the time. I was a bedside nurse, rate your pain 0 to 10. I was living life in chronic pain of like 5 to 8 was my daily. So I I just had to get out of bed though. I had kids to take care of. I had a job to go to. And so I just suffered through until I realized I did not have to suffer through.
Mm.
And this isn't to say that I don't deal with migraines ever. I had one yesterday. It was a lovely first half of my day, and it was a terrible second half of my day. So, they're not 100% gone, but I do take those times to remember where I've been and how far I've come. And where I've been is where I started to write down on 3 by 5 cards, and I would tape it to my bathroom mirror, and every day I would say, "I feel so good today."
Mhm.
or I have no pain today and I feel so good. And it was that say it and say it and say it until I actually believed it.
Yeah, creating new neural pathways uh,
Right.
as a way to, cope with pain. Anyway, we're going to jump off for just a
Oh,
second, and we're
10:30
going to have a
already.
little commercial. So we'll be right back.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
So we're back here with my friend Holly Hill. She is an RN and a lactation specialist and a whole lot more, which we'll get to. So we were talking before the break about the spiritual principles and the practices that you've put in place to support you with your own health and your own well-being. And I'm wondering, and you also talked about having a soul purpose. You talked about developing that. And I think it's really inspiring to speak with someone that it has such an understanding of who they are. Like you mentioned, you're more than the thoughts you have, and you're more than the body. You have a relationship with a deeper soulful part of you that obviously you've spent time in, developing this awareness and coming up with a tangible soul purpose or a life purpose. And I know that a soul purpose or a life purpose can change over time, but for now, how is your life a reflection of your soul's purpose? And how did that come to, if that's the case, then how did it come to be? Like, can you kind of walk us through how it went from, in here to out there?
Yeah, of course. Excuse me. Um, a lot of it has to do with pep talks that I would give myself. When I was in dark times, when I was struggling, when I was too trapped in my head, and that's how I would then put my thoughts down into my heart to say, I can do this. I can put one foot in front of the other. I can go outside. I can be the nurse to build up somebody else. And so that's where that's where it kind of started, that I could take this thought of my thoughts could actually change my life. My thoughts can heal me. And if I can do that, then how can I do that for others? So, I have worked in hospitals for over 20 years, and I recently decided to make my own business, and I specifically called it Light Up Lactation because lactation is what I love to talk about. I love to nerd out on, we could talk on the cellular level, I could talk on the global aspect of it. That part is really fun for me. Um, but also I wanna shed light on it, and I use that very intentionally of it's light of knowledge, it's light of the making it not feel so heavy, because being a new parent, having this new little one to feed, not getting consistent sleep, it is heavy and exhausting, and so I take this as, how can I use this soul energy that I have to then make it lighter for other people?
Mm.
So, and then, like, let's just shed light on all of it then. Like, what how far can we take it? We can take it forever. So there's no limit here. So, whether my clients know it or not, I leave affirmations with everybody. And I love doing that. Another piece that I say a lot is, this is not your forever story. So whatever challenge you're in, this is a chapter in your book. You get to turn the page.
Mhm.
Or, listening to Abraham Hicks, I don't always drop that name, but I do say it as, I listen to motivational talks in the morning. So I boost up myself every day so that I bring that lightness, but also I'm very grounded so that I'm not spinning up in my head, so that I can approach each family with the focus that they need. And then, so one of the things that I've learned from Abraham is, when you're on your path and you're telling other people, I know exactly where I'm headed. I'm on my path. And they'll say things like, "Well, show me the evidence for it." And Abraham says, "You don't have to have the evidence. You just say, I'm on my path." So then I take that in to any challenge situation that I have with, new parent, new baby, whatever they're struggling with, and I'll say that to them. Just because it looks like this right now doesn't mean you're off your path. This may be a stepping stone. Maybe it's a bump in the road. So you get to stand up on it and then take your next step forward.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
I
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so, it's so inspiring to hear of someone taking these simple ancient teachings out into real day living, into a niche, a specialty, like being a lactation specialist.
Mhm.
Um, Gosh, I'm thinking of all the questions. I know for me,
Right.
when obviously I'm not, I'm a grandma now. I'm not having a baby and having to take care of and feed my baby at the moment.
Mhm.
And even my grandchildren are, 12, 7, and 8. So,
Yeah.
it's been a while. Um, but I remember the struggle of coming home with a brand new baby, number one, number two, and number three. I mean,
Because they're all different.
they're all different, different issues, different concerns, and back in the 80s when I was having babies, it was a call to la leche league,
Mhm.
on the phone, because there wasn't even the support at the hospital.
Right.
It was some hotline that and it's hard to really feel that love and support, across the phone line, although that can be
Hmm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Obviously it was. So what are when you bring your magic and your sparkle and all of this positivity and this awareness into, give us a little snapshot. You walk in, like, how do you get the call? What happens?
Yeah, so I get clients from all over. So while I'm my own business of Light Up Lactation, I work within the team of Breezy Babies. So also I'm not alone in that way as well. So somebody will reach out to me on my Instagram. I'm Light Up Lactation on Instagram, or somebody will call the Breezy Babies line and want to schedule with the next available lactation consultant. So here on the screen is my email, so people are welcome to directly email me as well. So I get that start, and then everything is booked online. So they put their insurance information in, they fill out a new client form. So that's how I prepare. So I look through this new client form. I want to know what their history is. I want to know their background, how the pregnancy went, how the birth went. Um, Information about their baby and what their number one question is. So I prepare myself that way. So then it looks like I walk in, "Hi, I'm Holly," which I sometimes I joke and say I got to pull up my big girl panties and go drive somewhere new and knock on somebody's door that we haven't met yet. But then I use all of this background of I'm a human. They're a human. We're all here together, and they've asked me over. I The majority of the consults I do are in person in Utah, and I do some telehealth, but like even as you said, calling the La Leche hotline, there's still that person on the other end who answers the call. And that's what everybody needs is a human who just has that deep understanding, the willing soul, and that knowledge of support. So
Mm,
I don't always just run right in and get right to it. I usually sit and say, tell me about everything because I read it all in the notes, but in hearing somebody talk, that's when I'm able to hear where their biggest concerns are. And
yeah.
then we get to weighing the baby. Um, when I go in person, I bring a scale with me, and I love being able to say, "This is how much your baby weighs right now. This is how much your baby actually ate in this moment."
Mm, mhm.
And just that reassurance, I love bringing reassurance. And then at the same time, I'm gonna build them up and say, "Here's how I helped you, but look what you did on your path." And I think that that is deeply spiritual as well, because in all these ways that we can gain knowledge and grow as people, don't we need that own reflection? Don't we
Oh,
need somebody else
absolutely.
to say, "Look what you did. You did."
Yeah. It's beautiful. And, for some people that are watching, they may not understand, but breastfeeding your child doesn't always go easy. So there can be a
Mhm,
lot of complications here. So to have a professional, a specialist come in and witness, just be able to witness that person's story, to, for us to be heard when we're struggling is so powerful. Just having that kind of witnessing presence and then all that love and that support and those spiritual principles that you've shared with them, maybe they don't
mhm,
know exactly what about that, but
mhm.
just words of affirmation,
Yeah,
um, giving that hope, that feedback, that encouragement. We all need that, and
yeah,
to offer that at a time in a person's life when they're really on the edge of something new, um, and possibly don't have the support from their spouse because they're in the same situation,
right,
right?
or they just don't know what they don't know, and as you were saying, Ellie, you're not in this time of life of having babies, but you are in a position where you can say to somebody else, "Oh, you are in this time? I know somebody.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
somebody whose heart is in the work and will be there to help you."
yeah.
So
Wonderful. So what else? So what are some of the things that you encounter in the field, whether they be mindsets, or that maybe we haven't seen up till this point. Like, we're this show is about evolution and growing edge and growing consciousness and expansion. And so we're always encountering something new here at the Growing Edge. So
Right.
what's new in the world of, in your world as you are out there and about with people?
Ooh. So lactation is always changing. I guess I'll start there. But I do have my teenager messaging me. So I just need to answer her really quick, if that's okay.
That's just fine. This is what happens. We're all engaged with, we can all be in contact with our loved ones real time these days. I remember, when my children were little, we didn't have phones. I'd send them off on the bus in the morning, and then if everything went well, they would jump off the bus in the afternoon, and then I'd hear all of the drama and all of the requests and all of that. But
Yep.
now to have it real time, that's something.
It is. And I apologize for that side note. So I'll get to the question, but to go backward, how music has always been a part of my life. My older kiddo was in marching band, and so she was just messaging me. They just finished a performance at the school. So it's great. And she was just asking if she could come home for a minute. So yes. So along those music lines, right through this direction is our music room in our house. And it was so fun when Satya was meeting in person and Ben and I would perform songs there. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
So what is new? My approach specifically, and I don't know if I wrote this in the bio, but I often sing to babies.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so I do this in a way of modeling behavior to parents, because I'm also noticing that in this post-COVID world that we're in, we don't have a lot of that anymore. That we don't have enough groups getting together where new parents can see more experienced parents and the things that they do. So I also deal with a lot of babies who have tongue ties and lip ties. And so there are a lot of ways that we approach that, but one of the first things that I do is teaching oral stretches and suck training. And I do it through song, so I can teach these parents, and I say, "Have a smile on your face and bright shiny eyes and do it like this." So,
Oh,
and then
wow.
I have a video that we, as our Breezy Babies group, we have it typed up and a video embedded with it, and so that's what we share to our clients. It's not what everybody needs, but some of them. I'm also realizing how energetically connected just babies to their parents are. And to also be clear, I use mom and mama and parent interchangeably. Just also recognizing our LGBT plus community, and that not everybody is going to identify as having breasts, so they choose to say chest or chest feeding. So in many of well, all of my Instagram posts, my hashtags will always be breastfeeding and chest feeding. So I know that's not language for everybody, but that is language that I choose to use. So I guess you would say that's a leading edge as well,
That
that
is.
just more
So,
inclusive language.
so I'm naive here. So how would you define chest feeding?
Um, so it would just be the same, but let's say there is somebody who has some gender dysphoria or body dysphoria. And so they want to be a milk making parent, but are not comfortable with the word breasts or identifying it as breasts.
Okay.
So that's an area where I choose my words very carefully. So I'm not leaning one way or the other. But when I talk about like general breast health, then there is a difference between like moving all that glandular tissue, up and down on the chest wall.
Mm.
So kind of using it anatomically, but also using words that would be most comfortable for other people.
Okay. Oh
So,
my God.
and I don't always know which words somebody chooses to use. Um, so I do ask, or when I'm working with a two mom family, then I also ask, there's the gestational carrier, and who that mom or that parent typically will be the one who's breastfeeding. And so I ask what words they're comfortable with there. And then I ask the other parent, are you planning to latch and feed also? So far the answer has always been no, but I ask because one day the answer will be yes. And
Mm,
so am I supporting one lactating parent or am I supporting two?
mm. Oh my
So,
God. You're like an angel
oh,
coming into these people's homes to give them so much love and care and
thank you.
consideration, for all the different dimensions of their reality. So, gosh.
That's that's the
Yeah.
Holly special is how I
Yeah.
chose to,
Oh
and
my
it makes me a little bit teary because I truly do have my heart in this work. That it's a very sensitive and it's a very vulnerable time. And I know I don't just let anybody into my house. I
God.
feel like I carefully screen people, even door to door salespeople. If I'm opening my door, you may not come in, but you'll always get a kind word, or maybe a glass of water. Who knows? Um, we all need that softness in
Mm.
life, and so that is a very conscious choice in how I choose to show up and be there for people. I also have this amazing opportunity to be a mentor, and it's like raising up the next generation of lactation consultants. And I'm there to teach them how to do, good medical charting. Like here's the formal language that they use. But also I'm there to hold their hands, sometimes physically, sometimes just figuratively, to then cold call an office and say, "Hi, I'm with this group. I just saw this family. Can I get a fax number?" Because those aren't skills that everybody holds. And I
Mm.
remember being a brand new nurse, and I had a nurse sitting right next to me. It's middle of the night. I'm calling a doctor, and that can be really scary. So
Yeah.
I tend to meet people where they are. And I feel like this has always been something within me. And I know it's an energetic gift that, in a hospital setting, if there was a patient who'd had a really negative experience, they'd be like, Holly, you have that room now. And so I can calm down and de-escalate a room as it's needed, or if it's low, I can build it up. So it's just sensing that energy in the world. So I use that still. Now I'm going into families' homes, and if they're a little softer, I will be a little bit softer. If they're going to talk really fast and they want to ask your questions all in one breath, I'll be there for that too. So I do try to match myself with what's needed.
Oh my gosh. You are, I, I'm just like flabbergasted at how, you are such a healer. You are
Mm.
have that healing heart, that the passion to see people and meet them where they are and lift them up and support them in becoming responsible. It sounds like your teaching, your guidance, your nursing, your support is all guiding individuals to be the best that they can, to sort of step into a larger circle of their own becoming. So
Exactly. And doesn't that fit with the inspiring minds and healing hearts?
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we're almost at the end here. We got just a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Is there a spiritual practice that you use yourself? Like, because you said, you're going into homes, you don't know what you're going to encounter. I mean, all of us have some, every time you leave the house, we can encounter all manner of things, but going into someone's personal home, that's a even bolder
Yeah.
step. So how do you prepare yourself? What do you do? Do you have any
Mm. I
spiritual?
do. Yeah. Um, I use a lot of I am statements. So, and it mostly looks and sounds like I'm on my drive. I'm messaging my mentees. I mean, not texting while I'm driving, but I am thinking about where I'm going. And then when I'm done sending my messages, I am statements. I am in the right energy today. I am who I need to be to show up to this family today, show up for this family today. I am at the top of my skills today. So just kind of whatever comes out. It's often out loud as
Mm.
well because I find, yes, I can say all these in my mind, but when I say them out loud, it makes a difference. It makes them stronger. I know the universe is listening, and I always keep in mind that the universe is always working for me. If everything
Well,
is here for me, then here
yeah,
I am.
I'm sensing, because I love all those affirmations. They sound very familiar to me. And I'm also just wondering if there could be sort of a an audio, could it be an album or a CD? I don't know, of affirmations for babies and mothers and families that are, so I would love to hear a song and melody to those affirmations. So
Yeah,
just putting it
maybe.
out there.
Well, one thing that I am working on that I hope to bring to life in this next year is I have all of these affirmations that I've left with families I've been collecting, and I hope to make them into cards that families could have, like physically flip through the cards, like what do I need today to focus on?
Oh, beautiful.
So
Wonderful. All right. Well,
it's in the
we
works.
have come to the end of our time, but I know that you'll be back, or at least I'll know you're watching. And I'd
Yes,
love to have your husband on the show at some point. Anyway, thank you, Holly, so much for sharing.
absolutely.
You truly are a blessing in this world.
Mm,
And I can only imagine how loved and supported all of those families have felt because of you. So thank you.
thank you so much, and thank you for having me today. It was such an honor to be here.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you to New Thought Media Network. And thank you to you for watching. I'd love to see you back here next week. And with PJ Stanley, Reverend Dr. PJ Stanley, an amazing friend of mine, minister from Texas. She'll be with us. So thanks again. See you at the Growing Edge.